Good morning, as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, Wednesday morning, October 9th, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access, rightfully so. Chris Lucore is here with us this morning, and of course, Chris is a power to be reckoned with, and a promising aspect of what really means to be creative and selfless and meaningful by way of having his wonderful gallery out of Montauk. And in just a few years, was it 2, 3, 4 years that you have the gallery open? You already have your marks everywhere. I see your fingerprints. I noticed a few of them in places that I would never thought that you would end up there. And in addition to that, you're young, you're robust, you're talented, and you're doing a great job. So good morning. Good to have you here.
Good morning. Hi. A pleasure to be here. Like I always say, we're just getting started. So lots to come.
Definitely. And I remember that I think the last time you were here about 6 months ago or something like that. And I was wondering about what kind of an aspiration a 25, 24-year-old kid like you would have being finding himself so deep into the process of A, running a gallery, B, being an artist that you are, and a curator, for God's sake. I mean, everybody and his uncle wants you to hang their shows. That's a big deal. First of all, I want to congratulate you about that. I definitely learn every time a thing or two from you, important things when it comes to that. And so that's not only a humbling factor, but also a rewarding feeling. So so tell me about the crisscrossing of so many venues that you're involved in and how it feels.
Well, I want to be involved in art. Art is the thing I love, and art is sort of the thing that all these different venues are pushing. It's the linking factor that brings everybody together. So when you can kind of like get on that level with people and engage with them about their art,
Would you like a sip of coffee?
I would love a sip of coffee.
I was-
I'm like, hang on, get my brain working real quick.
I
All
know,
right.
very good.
and
Go tell the story about your coffee this morning.
no, no, to better things. All
Well,
right.
to your health. Good to see you.
Good to be here. All right,
Mm.
so art, yeah, it brings us all together, and there's so many artists out here who want their art displayed, and there's so many good venues to have it displayed. So for me to have this passion for getting the art on the wall in a way that enhances the art, I mean, it opens doors to opportunities because there's so many people out here who want to do that. And I mean, makes connections with people. I get involved with wonderful people like you.
Yeah, well, vice versa. But but what you do is not um, um, a no-brainer. It takes work, takes level of dedication. When you it's like as you accumulate your experience, you show a lot of experience already established. So that's so. Are you aware? I mean, are you aware of the uh, as you're kind of in the thick of it, reading, saying, "Man, that's a lot of work," and especially being you that you're so detail oriented.
Yes, I'm aware that it's
And
a
I'm
lot of
trying to
work.
kind of, I'm trying to crush your orientedness
I
just
know,
a little bit, and
but
then
I
I
won't
realize
let
I
you.
shouldn't touch it. You,
Yeah, no, I won't
you
let
don't budge.
you. So
Just a little bit, maybe.
I think the great thing about the curation aspect of everything is I see it as compositional building. I mean, I see it as fun and art in the same way as I do my own painting. So when you see things like that, I think sometimes it's easier to go above and beyond and get lost in the process and not really worry about how much time it's taking just because you're engaged in what you're doing. So that for me is wonderful to feel like I get to do this as a job and I feel so engaged in it. I mean, like when we did the invitational, that show, I hung that show in one day from 4 p.m. to
I know, and I was there
a.m.
for 3 4 hours out of that. It was intense
Yeah, I couldn't done it.
already.
I couldn't done it without the
No,
coffee deposits.
yeah, and thank you for letting me be kind of close to you, at least as a portion of
Well,
that
you were the catalyst for
process.
that. You got me in there, Haim.
Yeah,
So
and you did, and you delivered, man. It's like forget about it. And but don't you notice the growth of the artists themselves? Because you gotta once you show an artist, you establish a friendship,
absolutely.
so you kind of keep track of what they're doing and this and that.
Yeah.
So you tell me about the experience of watching artists grow and develop and become better, and having an opinion about it.
So absolutely. I mean, I think I've gotten to watch artists grow and get better and become more engaged. I've sort of watched people who were kind of like dipping their toe in, just experimenting here and there, starting to figure out what they were doing, like really get excited about what they were doing and like dive in way more than they thought they were going to. I've seen people who've done this way longer than me their entire lives, like change things up and move in different directions. So it is cool to watch people grow and change. And especially like me, I mean, I've always been interested in art, but I've only been seriously doing this for like 5 years. So to see change in myself in that time and see change in others as well is a powerful thing.
Yes, and you know what? Just because I get to forget that you're so young, so when we interact with each other, I sometimes say, I need to step back because, man, this guy is like has a long journey still ahead of him. So and I without any hesitation would say that you were ahead of your time, ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? So that's definitely a good thing to a good place to be in. In that background of our artistic community. It's insane how many, like you say, even here out of LTV, uh, trying to establish the idea that I can be or that I am a curator is sometimes more challenging than actually being an artist, actually paint paintings,
Yeah.
and I couldn't find an easy way to teach myself not to worry about it too much. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the being a curator position puts you in sort of proximity of the public in a way
Yes,
that being an
it's
artist doesn't necessarily. Like when you're an artist and you're just an artist, all you really have to do is you and the canvas, you and your private time working through your works. So but the curator position, I mean, it's all about setting up public events and displays that are meant to be seen by the public, and the public's reaction and the reaction of the artist and how the artist is reacting to the public's reaction,
and then, but just guess what? If one little tiny thing goes wrong, then it's like you look like it seems like you always have to kind of start all over again.
Yeah.
With the, are you talking about curation, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about sort of the
Production,
the
curation.
juxtaposition with being an artist. Your concerns are your own. They're your concerns about the canvas and the work that you're making, which they go further than that when you start showing and everything. But like in the curator position, your concerns are basically how everybody else is reacting to what you're doing.
Yes, but also, uh, um, the, where do you learn about the nature of what it really means to be a curator? How far can you go? How far can you stretch your authority? With the artist, because I can only learn from those who were my own curators,
Yeah.
and represented like Janet Leigh. Janet Leigh would sometimes come to me and said, "You're talking too much." That's it. This equaled like a 45-minute conversation. Otherwise, I understood exactly what she didn't have to follow up with anything.
Yeah.
So, or she would say, "Oh, these are great. How did you manage to hide this from me?" Things like that. And then instead of giving you a whole like talk about you should really be proud of yourself, this is really great, she's making me think, well, if she says that, then it must be really good.
Yeah.
Correct. But then when you face others in my early stages of curation, which I feel that it is now, even though I did it many times in the past, that I just sometimes feel like I'm pausing and stepping back in a way that inevitably kind of weakens me. So and then I don't have any other extra sources to turn to prove myself right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think there can be like that moment of uncertainty. Mostly I think it's when you start to engage with a new artist. Like cuz a lot of times, you've worked with an artist two or three times, you build up rapport, and now like you don't have to have a 30-minute conversation. You can say you're talking too much, you can get a point across and like that. When you're selecting work for a show, you can send a few text messages, get back and forth and get a lot done. But when it's like your first time engaging with a new artist, there's this like you're not sure how much they want or expect from you. You don't want to like overdo too much. So I think it's all about like trying to come to a compromise with people and make sure you're moving at the speed that they are comfortable moving at. But a lot of times, they're not moving fast enough. You got to get something done. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's guiding things along as gently as possible. And
yeah. Like you used to say, keep them guessing.
yeah.
I love that. That's, keep them guessing. Uh, why do you want them to know so much about how you do things? These are her, the
Yeah.
one that kind of led me for about a decade,
Yeah.
saying, how did they earn it? That they deserve it?
Mm.
They don't. So she's teaching you about things that you like want to share with the entire world, and she said, no. It's like, no.
Right.
I mean, it's yours, it's valuable, it's precious, treat it as such. So now I try to work with others and say, and not hide how I feel about them. Listen, I think you're great, your work is great, and you improve all the time. It's exciting, it's showable, it's presentable, it's interactable, everything, all 9 yards. I give, but then I realize that I'm maybe talking to the wrong person here.
Mm.
You know the feeling where you like saying, okay, maybe this person is really a great artist, but very difficult to work with. And how much is it worth? And this is a question to you, to invest into it, to say that I'm going to pull through no matter what. Does this kind of statement work in this case?
I think sometimes, you know, I definitely us, I think we get a little over enthusiastic. And I think sometimes, like, when you're so enthusiastic about something, it's easily to like, you like impart
To
that
be fragile.
enthusiasm, or you like assume that everybody else is coming at it with that same level of enthusiasm that you are, but it's not always the case.
You know what?
So I think once you've committed to something, of course it's important to honor your own commitment and see it through to the end, no matter if you have to drag the other person kicking and screaming with you.
Yeah.
But um I think we do have to recognize, like, but that's also part of like being a curator and making the selections on who you want to show and everything, is like taking the time to like see, is this person really invested in their work? Do they have this one awesome piece that they've shown me and that's really all they do, or like are they serious about what they're doing? And so like that's why we do studio visits and stuff.
Yeah.
We try to learn as much as we can before we make a commitment. But I think no matter what, I mean, we're going to be enthusiastic, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's just like, just imagine it if it was the other way around, and then the curator would have to say to the artist, "Hey, slow down, take it easy." I mean, it's ridiculous to even say that, to hear you say that.
yeah.
So no, what I mean is this: I'm just trying to understand what is the nature of becoming really serious about it.
And
How does it feel to? Because I don't feel that I'm like in a stage where I am. I know what I'm doing, but I'm far from being comfortably established, in my mind and all this.
we're
So I
talking
wonder how it would feel when I get to that point.
we're talking about like strictly curation
Yeah,
side of things,
curation and
right?
production,
Right.
and being the artist that we are, of course, bringing that into the equation. We cannot not be the artists that we are as we curate for others.
Yeah.
It's a given that you want them to say, okay, uh, you want me, you I think you want them to say to themselves, this person that in front of me, I know what he's doing. I know what he's capable of doing, because I saw him do for others, but I also saw him do for himself.
Yeah.
So I cannot stand here and think that the artist will think about you. Oh, he's a loser. For God's sake, what am I doing with him? Even though the moment of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they know better. They say the last show I went to see his last show. It was awesome. Anything that I would say now will just make me look ridiculous.
I think being really serious, like on the curation side, is the ability, like the adaptability part of things. Because like when working as an artist, maybe you have your own couple of things that you work on, and those are your styles. Working as a curator, you really have to be able to transition and pivot to fit whatever the style of the artist that you're showing is. You can't take this guy's collection and hang it just like you hung your collection. They're probably entirely different collections. And that's why I mean, most of the time when I'm putting a show up, I like to have like 20 minutes, 30 minutes before things start going on the wall with the artist, just to walk around and talk about all the art in there. Are there any pieces you think feel really strongly grouped together? I like, and then that gives the artist the chance to feel like, they got to give you all their thoughts on the collection, and then you as a curator get to interpret that information and decide, is it valuable? Do those pieces actually look good together? And you can say, yeah, he was right. Or you can say, nope, but you heard him
But
out, you
also,
know?
what about the art that is speaking its piece, the art itself? I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, you got to go
We,
in ready to
yeah,
listen.
yeah, yeah. But I think that sometimes it's just bringing the artist into the equation too close to the technical aspect of it is can be a mistake because they're too emotional. And
Yeah.
out of all the world, is the wrong person to ask about his art. Is they don't know. Most of them are not so sure.
I
Most of them will tell you suddenly about doubts. So, oh, I could have done without these four, and tell you a whole story about how it ended up being
Right,
that it shouldn't have been. And it's
right. Well,
you
but you
want you
get
want to,
the squiggly line when you
and
talk to
so
the
now you
artist.
pointed out a great thing. So how are we addressing it, but still dealing with it because it's not going to go smooth.
We are the sorters of information. Like all that stuff is valuable input to us. It's not necessarily valuable output. We don't need to take everything that the artist says and blast it out to the community. I mean, but it's all valuable input because it's good to know the emotional connection behind the
But if
piece.
you ask for their opinion, you're opening yourself up for um, greater disappointment. I'll tell you why. Because then, if you make that the artist a partner into the, even if it's a little bit, to your kind of decision making process, so you're more liable. Now the artist is have something that he's expecting. If you tell the artist, "That's why I'm here for, to give you a little break," and that break means go, and then you come and then you'll see.
Yeah.
So the artist will be like, wait a second, but he asked me according to this question. No, I don't know, since I don't necessarily like this corner here or there. But if it's altogether your time that you claimed, and now you're open for everyone, then it's really automatically, purely, cleanly in the hands of the artist and the crowds out there. So then, when you have this attitude, the claiming is pretty intense, and the releasing is pretty intense.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
probably went a little
I don't
off
think
here.
I don't think yeah, I know. I mean, I think I hear you. I don't think hearing out the artist can impact our decisions as a curator, though. I think that all information is good information. Well, like when the piece comes in, I always love to give the artist the chance to tell me about it. I mean, and I not necessarily like specific questions like I'm trying to set things up for the future, but just like, like give me some insight to the piece, like help me dig into it, like all that information. Not, again, not to say that I'm going to use it at all, but I think it's all good input when I'm making decisions and hanging the show, to understand the pieces better from the point of view of the person who made
Yeah, well, I agree. Yes, yeah, I agree, and I can say easily yes and no because I'm more like I won't enjoy so much to hear you talk about your art. No, really, I'm serious with you. So
them.
not with you, just in general. I say, listen, I love your art. The last thing I need now, unless you say this is when 2 minutes before my best friend passed away, and it was some magical moment, and I was in the midst of that, and suddenly when I heard that, I did something completely different, and that's why you're seeing this and that. But how many or how much of your artwork will have such special stories? Keep it to yourself. I keep to myself. I want to uh, excel without knowing technical details. I want to maybe show you this is based on my kind of interpretation, my feeling,
Hmm.
because I want to give enough of myself. I don't want you can be 100% when it's out in the eyes of the public, but in the process of making it happen, I need to claim also enough space.
Yeah.
Uh, and maybe I'm selfish a little bit by thinking this way, but I'm also trying to be practical because that reality is charged. Whether it's your art, somebody else's art, it's charged. It's hours and hours of investing, spending time in your own, sacred place and whatever, and
Yeah.
most of which people cannot even relate to or understand. So I understand that, I mean. So we're trying to find the fine line between that will make it look pleasant enough, feel pleasant enough.
Yeah. I think it's okay to push back when people are expecting more than they should be expecting, or like when things are when yeah, I think it's okay to push back sometimes, but I think that it's it's good. I think those moments when you're actually with the artist in person and you have a chance to hear them talk about their art are the most valuable moments, because you can look at the art, you can see it. That's all moments for you to decide. But to actually those one-on-one interactions, especially because everybody wants to keep it to themselves, nobody wants to tell you their secrets or what their art means to you. So if you can actually like draw it out of them, it I think sometimes it can add so much to a composition to know what the artist is thinking. So those things, I do want to know what the artist is thinking. That 20 minutes before I start going, I do want to talk to them. I want to know what parts they think they go together. But then after that 20 minutes is over, I want to be alone to get the works on the wall. That's how I claim my time. The
Yeah.
installation, I do it alone, or I come and I have you help me, or like but those are my times to make decisions. But just as that time is valuable to me, that time with the artist is as valuable. I don't spend every day with them. I'm not in their studio every day when they're painting. I see what they do, but that's what everybody else sees. And if people are walking into my gallery to see the work and they see the work and I'm the curator responsible for knowing about the work, I can't only have as much information as they do by looking at the piece. I mean, sure, maybe I'm more used to looking at a piece. I can break things down a little more seriously or whatever, but it's helpful. It's helpful to have had those moments with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
artists.
I don't disagree with you. I can speak of something else completely, but without disagreeing with you.
Mhm.
I definitely understand that level that you reached, and from there you operate, you continue to operate. But when it comes to uh, in the same token, everything that you just said now can not be a factor at all, because it's only a factor when we make it a factor. If you sometimes only if you just don't mention something, you spare yourself from a lot of BS. Okay,
Absolutely.
so and that's one of the cases.
This is
So that
why we
means
stay
if
adaptable.
if let's just say that I represent someone, which I
Mhm.
did in the past, let's say with Michael McDowell,
Mhm.
perfect, wonderful, Michael McDowell, wonderful. I love him, appreciate him, look up to him, and the whole thing. Um, um, the reality as it unfolded, you're working with someone that you respect and fear even a little bit, and definitely the last thing you want to do is find yourself making a fool of yourself, because it's very
Absolutely.
easy to find ourselves there.
Definitely.
But then um, the there's certain things that I decided not to talk about. That means I didn't come to him and I say, "This is how it's going to be." Before I'm going to this, that, that. It didn't end up being like that. I said, I don't need to talk about it. If I talk about it so early, I will never be able to shake it off. It will be just a part of the whole thing.
Mhm.
Unnecessary draining energy and all this. Let's see, I'm not going to mention it. So let's just say if I really need to mention it at some point, let it be 3 months from now or a month from now. closer to the moment of truth.
Yeah.
And maybe even altogether, suddenly the other person says, okay, so I'm going to leave you be. See you later.
Yeah.
Suddenly the person is saying, I never mentioned. The other person didn't seem to want to mention. And then at the moment of truth, the other person says, okay, I guess I'll leave you. I'll leave you to do your thing. See you later. I'm gonna go have lunch or something. And then you're having your time, all the time in the world, enough time without claiming that time. Just
Absolutely. Yeah.
uh, but
This
it
is
will never happen unless you will be mindful of the fact. Okay, I'm gonna just resist the temptation to talk too much or mention things. It should be clear.
but this is why adaptability is so important, because there's a different right answer for every solution, like, or every problem that we face as curators. Every show is different. Every artist you work with is different, needs a different level of interaction. So I mean, being it like the curator that you have to be to do a show with Michael McDowell might not be the curator that you have to be to do a show with me, you know.
Yeah,
So it's,
the
and
fundamentals will be the same, really. Of
yeah, but there's a lot of that like duality here. Well, like the right answer for him is not the right answer for him. There's a different right answer, you know. So like, yeah, we just have to be ready. We have to be ready to
yes, yes.
adapt.
And even if we get to know much about the artist, we won't be able to change anything anyway. The artist is the artist.
Absolutely.
And even if we have a special approach to it, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because even if it's going to make a difference, it will be so insignificant that nobody will remember it. And it's legitimate to think about certain things that you don't want to think about,
Yeah.
period, intentionally, because you know you're getting nowhere with it. And so
But
now you're trying to minimize the damage that you potential damage that you might cause to yourself by placing an opinion that won't be so popular, but still, nevertheless, you're doing it.
yeah.
You
Well,
know
it's
what I
not
mean?
you. It's a constant.
By doing nothing, you're actually doing it. That's
Well,
my
you're
point.
always feeling like you're not getting anywhere, but then you just look back a little bit further, and you're like, oh, look, I actually got somewhere.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, you gotta that feeling of I'm not getting anywhere. You gotta battle through that. There's a way. There's always a way forward. My mother, she tells me, keep making the donuts. That's what I tell myself. Keep making the donuts.
did you bring any donuts?
I wish. No, we got coffee. We're halfway there.
I thought maybe you'll surprise me. And by the way, I have a bag of donuts that I brought.
In my back pocket.
That's what they need, Dunkin' Donuts in Montauk.
Where's the
Wouldn't that
Krispy
be like a
Kreme?
small Dunkin' Donuts just like in a corner somewhere?
I'm,
And then,
I'm loyal to Krispy Kreme. I
yeah,
gotta say, those morning, the fresh ones with the warm glaze, forget about it. It's
yeah.
over. Can't beat it. It's done.
So, just to mention, we're sitting here with Chris Lucore from the Lucore Gallery in Montauk, um, managing and owning and running the gallery with his family, and also an established artist here at the East End of Long Island. And of course, he curates everywhere, shows everywhere, and also helps a lot of artists, local artists, in the most delicate, meaningful way that you do it. So you please so many people, and like as I say, it's just the early stages of your journey to come. But speaking of what we were speaking is something that the beauty of it is that we not only we take it back to our studios and we cherish the independent feeling,
Mm.
yeah, in our studios. And okay, all these things are not going to waste. So all these interactions and experiences and sensations that we as curators at some point we have to find ourselves back in our studios. So I find that certain things are happening, and I'm going through certain things during the day, and I remember those moments. I'm trying to emphasize to myself to remember this moment.
Mhm.
Like I know that tonight at 10 o'clock, I'll probably 10 to midnight minimum will spend in it. So I'm kind of say, okay, I need to remember this, and then and then you have a few others during the day, and then when you go to the studio, it's like, okay, I have the to remember list, 3 items, and suddenly it feels so powerful. Suddenly I feel like I'm just about to do something that would push me that much ahead. Do you ever like take away from something during the day and want to treasure it so you can, at the time that you will be actually in front of your canvas, you will benefit from it for real?
Yeah, I think in a way, even though like I mean, when you're working, obviously you're working and you're thinking about your work, but it's all very powerful sort of introspective time as well. Like when you're working on your work, you're also thinking about your day and all that stuff that's happened over the past week, and everything you've accomplished over whatever the past 3 weeks, and all that stuff kind of like
Apropos what I
seeps in.
introduced you to lately,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
changed you a little bit. I
Starts
see the
seeping
change,
in.
man.
Yeah, well, I'm
Suddenly,
excited.
the 12-footer is giving you a face expression where you say, "What was that all about?" Tell
Yeah.
the public about what the huge canvas that you
So
and
Haim
about the new sensations that it brought to your life.
Haim has decided that he's going to be my canvas angel,
Yes,
and
large scale canvas.
my large scale canvas angel. So when I am ready for a new composition, Haim pulls up to the gallery with a beautiful, thick, heavyweight, large scale canvas,
Yeah,
primed in
right.
whatever color
Yeah.
I ask for. It's literally, I can't even thank him for this. It's too great of a gift. And I said to him when I was doing this, I was like, all right, you know, when I finish the last one, whatever size it is, don't ask me what size I want. Just give me a size based on how good I did on the last
the
one.
previous one, yeah.
And so we're moving along nice.
Yeah, but the thing is, now I can talk to you about that, those kind of details. The other day you told me, I was doing and all this, and then I felt like I'm doing well and all this, and then suddenly I look and I say I have like 3, 4 more feet. I was like, what? And then you kind of felt like you almost done, and then no, I mean, it was just
Yeah.
so the humbling process is still, if you don't follow the technique, meaning if you have a work order, like when you create the texture, the background texture,
Mm.
it's tremendous amount of work. Okay,
Yeah.
there's no way around it. Also,
No.
it's like, okay, if you have a 24 by 24 or if you have a 4 by 12 feet, it's just you have to have the same attitude.
Yeah.
So you cannot change anything because it's a large scale or because it's a small scale.
Hmm.
Here you have the space to cover here, but now every little tiny supposedly failure, for lack of a better word, it really takes you back further back than
Yeah.
if it was otherwise at your regular scale and all this. But then in the same token, also it give you really a sense of saying, I don't think I know that many people that will be able to do what I'm doing now.
No.
No, it's not wrong to feel this way.
Yeah.
It's not wrong at all. I mean, you need it. It's because your commitment need to be rewarded by others, but also by yourself. So, and the beauty is that you're going to feel so many things on behalf of that you're not even aware of, that I'm not even aware of. And that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
So when you get larger and you say, wait a second, okay, but I just did 4 by 12. And this is just a slightly bit, maybe a little bigger. Why is it intimidating me so much? You're gaining experience, but still the reality is like, why? Because you know that you're going to have to do inch by inch without nothing will spare you from that.
Yeah.
and still keep your creativity. Because you remember you telling me, man, I've been spending like 8 hours on my knees, and suddenly you're doing things that you're not used to and you never thought you would. Like, wait a second. And
Yeah.
it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, we're playing Twister.
Yes. It's only going to get bigger. And do you think that if you're going to do 9 by 12 feet, for example, and go back to a 4 by 12, it's not going to be easier?
No.
It's not.
Well, but that's the interesting thing too about working at this scale is that, like, in a way, it feels like 48. Like it all sort of feels like the same amount of effort to do one. It's not at all. That's not true. Like to do a 6 by 6, it's a day for a step, a day for a step. To do the 12 by 12, whatever. Now it's 5 days per step.
The one we have here is a 7 by 6, correct?
6 by 8.
6 by 8.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so that was interesting. Going back to what you were saying was like the 6 by 8. I'm working on that.
And it looks pretty small now, doesn't it? Feel small?
It does. Well, I'm looking at it now and I'm like, shoot, it needs more work. But
yeah, like now you're like finished. Like, that's what I was excited about, because you have that point of reference. It's new. It's fast.
Yeah.
You
but
just
it feels like you
4
did
by 12
more.
so fast.
Yeah, it just feels like you did more though. Like I'm
and
like,
you didn't cut
these
corners.
giants. I don't know.
And you did not cut corners.
No.
Do you
I just
understand what I'm
kept
saying?
going. I just kept making the donuts until it was done.
Yeah, so you see, we find it legitimate, and we
Hmm.
make fun of it, and so it's fun, it's serious, it's deep, and it's simple, and it's fun. You know what I mean? So there's always, every time sophistication comes in too much, then we simplicity takes place, and then balances things out. So and it's constant things like that makes it okay. You know what? I did it, and I wasn't so overwhelmed. It was testy and challenging, but I managed. I'm the same person
Yeah, it's a
at the
dance
end
through
as
it
I was at the beginning.
in a way.
Okay, thanks for. I was expecting to hear that. That's good.
Yeah, we
In a
learned.
way. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell us about what was messed up and left behind that you had to attend to a few times before you can resolve that, for whatever the question means.
Nothing is left behind. No, I don't. I don't know. I think running, sometimes mistakes happen, and there's actually a way to turn it into, like, this is all creative problem solving. You run into something that maybe is a mistake, and actually maybe we can work with it. Maybe it happened for a reason, and now it's something that I can use intentionally in the future. So all these things is a process of learning, and
Yeah, definitely. So, as far as the gallery is concerned, maybe some information about where you stand. I know that you have a rotation of 3 weeks per artist groups, and you keep on doing it. Like, tell me about the accumulation of experience dealing with artists. How does it feel and seem like nowadays?
um it definitely feels significant. I mean, I feel more like academically engaged in this whole space. I just feel like I've seen so many more artists, talked to so many more artists, seen so many bodies of work and like directions that you can take this from an artistic point of view, from a business point of view, and it feels significant. I mean, it's not like now I feel like I have a roadmap of the right way to go or anything. I just have a bank of things that I've seen and experience that I can draw off, and people that I can ask when I have questions. Mentors and people who've done things and have different experience than I do. So it's all helpful. I mean, it's certainly, now I don't feel like I have the answers, but I still feel like, I know more than I do, and I'm set up to go further
Yeah,
than I was.
yeah, and I believe that that's the case. I'm kind of close enough to you to realize the extent of your work and investment, and also I hope you realize that you're adding so much to the community. This is significantly, maybe even more than you think. And and just imagine the next decade, 2 3, how things accumulate, how and also you're going to change as an artist. Forget about it. That's going to be in itself
Absolutely.
an exciting process and all this. But so yeah, I love sitting here and talking to you about things that we usually talk anyway, and attention to details, maybe having the right amount of sensitivity when it's needed, and just enough experience to know that you know how to handle anything that comes your way, and you kind of, for the most part, making the right decisions.
Hope
We're
so.
hoping for that,
I hope so.
because we need, we put so much energy into what we give to the community. We need to be able to self-replenish it, because people are people are not compatible with supplying you that energy that you need so much. It's not that simple. They struggle themselves also and all this. So we need to kind of make sure at least some of it
Yeah.
to be resupplied, if anything.
Yeah.
So, and we need to be mindful of our, being kind and good to ourselves, because we are the individuals that give to the society and give to the community. And like here with the show that I have here, it's like, without even thinking about it, it's 3 4 5 6,000 shows by now, and it's 6,000 times that I showed up here and recorded and all this. And you cannot take that away from the community. Forget about taking it away from me. You're giving it to the community to such an extent that it's a part of the community now. So you show through your gallery, and surely enough, slowly, slowly, it's becoming a part of the community. The community cannot go not hand in hand with it. It's always hand in hand.
Yeah.
So it's a good feeling, and yeah, and it's okay that it's sophisticated and maybe profound and maybe too philosophical more often than not. It's okay. It's better than being aggressive and melancholy and depressed and pressed and anxious. So what the friggin' heck?
Absolutely.
I mean, even if you can fake it, I commend you. Happiness. Pretend that you're happy, then it will make you be slightly bit happier
Yeah.
rather than very very happy. But it's better than the other options. So I mean, I do see you as a contributor, and as you mature in all this, you would be more mindful of it. So you would walk around thinking of yourself and how you kind of fit in the community.
Yeah.
Just like this, Alan Plants, my mentor, my poetry mentor, he told me, I don't know how we ended up talking about how do we see each other. How do I see you in the community and all this? So when it came his turn to say how he sees me, he says he used the word peculiar, and I said, should I be? My feelings should be hurt because of that, like peculiar. Why did he say peculiar? Well, guess what? Because I am peculiar. Walking around and say, when I see you, I said, this guy kind of looks peculiar. Artistic, not artistic, but peculiar. So suddenly you know, you want to learn from a word from a person that you really value his opinion or her opinion and respect them, and then you benefit so much from it. And this will govern what it is that we're giving back to the community
Yeah.
in a way. I think that's a good way of looking at it, more or less. And you experience it on daily basis,
Yeah.
literally.
Well,
Phone calls, artists, Chris, put me on the show, and it is, and but listen, but that, but here, but no, please, and your gallery is so beautiful, and that show that I was there, and it's on and on and on. That's what I want you to share with me a little bit. The sweet overwhelmingness.
well, that's the public side of things. The gallery is a public position. You get to talk to everybody. You get everything. You get positive feedback, negative feedback. You get feedback that sounds positive.
But
It's got like that little like mist of positivity on it, but buried deep in there is a dagger for you, So, I mean, we get all that stuff, and the goal is to keep putting out the positivity and keep contributing to the community in the way that we are and the way that we aspire to. So like, I mean, you can't like reflect everything you take. You have to use it all as something to build off of, even
yeah,
if it's when it's when you want to hear, when it's not what you want to hear, when it's disguised as something you want to hear but it's really stabbing you in the heart. Yeah, you gotta your everything, all input must be interpreted as in some way useful and helpful,
yeah.
or I mean, or not, but
Yeah, no. I hear you. But also, your immediate environment. Your parents are very passionate about art. Your dad is an art collector, art lover, art supporter. I mean, forget about it. So just thinking of your dad, no wonder you were so special.
well,
And he's so it's like it's a tight union between the your parents and yourself and the gallery and all this. Tell me about that magical trio and how it works in sustaining this concept in place.
I am incredibly blessed to have parents who are supportive of what I want to do, and I know from life experience with friends and everybody that I talk to how rare that is. That doesn't happen for a lot of people, and my parents, they love what I do, and they love that I'm doing something that I'm engaged with and I'm happy about. And on top of that, they loved art already. I mean, like you said, my father's an art collector.
Oh yeah,
He's
and
not
then
an
some.
artist himself, but he loves art. He loves it. And my mother is also, she doesn't consider herself an artist, but she's
Yeah.
skilled artistically.
Yes.
And so, they to have a show to come to every 3 weeks, and new stuff in the gallery, it's just, they love it. They have a lot of fun with it, and I feel very lucky to have them supporting me and telling me that, they say, you're doing good, just keep doing what you're doing, and
Yeah.
that feels good. And
That's
I know
a
that
lot.
actually, no, I can do more. I can always do more. But just to hear that from them is like okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, you just described something almost like next to perfect, and then I think that uh, despite the fact that you have so much support, you work so hard on your own behalf, as if you're on your own. You know, what I mean,
Well,
that's why you're ahead of yourself.
what
You
did
know.
I do to deserve
Yeah, well,
this?
you did well. First of all, you're an artist, a gifted artist, and you create. And when you create, you're a good person. When you're a good person, people want to be close to you and near you, and that's all there is to it. Yeah. You know what? I don't know. Sometimes people, when I think of myself in this equation, I say, uh, I shouldn't worry about myself, self. That's this body that's walking in the streets and people observe as I observe others. I'm more like if I see someone, I know that he came to my last show just a month ago. So when I look at him and he's the way he treats me and the way we interact, I know that he thinks when he sees me, he thinks about the art. It doesn't, it's important to realize these things. It's not separated from life, from today, from the walk, from the chores, from the going to work out or going to the supermarket.
Mm.
So when you interact with people, if they don't say anything about it even, but you know that they will maintain that level of camaraderie and respect because it's in relationship to what they have just experienced with you not too long ago,
Yeah.
and 6 months ago, and last year, and 5 years ago, and 17 years ago. And by the way, someone will come to you and say, that show in 2001 was a knockout. Now, 23 years later, you say, I must be doing something really awesomely good for someone to come to me 23 years later, and probably he made his feelings known to others about that. So, I mean, this is the effect we have on it. So, when you have this level of surety, you can really outdo yourself artistically. When you find the energy and the force and the strength to change, to overcome, and literally live in front of the canvas, it will be felt by those who will observe it and eventually, hopefully, buy it and take it home.
Yeah.
So that goodness will never leave them. If he puts it in the kitchen or the hallway or the bedroom, it will be with this family all their lives. So it's a shame that artists don't think about it more often than not as an important factor.
Yeah, well, I think definitely. I mean, you're saying something when you're making a piece. I mean, when you're doing something and you're putting it out there, it's like a form of communication, almost dialogue with everything that everybody has ever said before making a painting, and now you're saying something, you're adding to the chat. Like, so I think I don't know that I always saw it as something like that before doing all the curation and the gallery side of things, and things are always public and you're always getting something ready to be displayed. Before that it was like I'm just exploring or I'm just having fun making but now it's like what am I saying? Am I saying what I want to be saying? How could I say what I want to say more? It's I And especially when we did the back and forth, the passing of
Yeah,
the
like
paintings, one of which is
yes,
behind me. This one, I think this one did the most trips between
I
us.
think so.
We
Yeah,
each saw this piece 2 or 3 times, and that was dialogue,
yes,
and I would do something, I'd hand it to you, and then you'd do
we should do
something.
a large scale
we
together.
should we should do a big one.
Yeah,
And then the dialogue that comes on top of the actual dialogue happening in the piece is fascinating too, because like we'll do that thing where we like guide where you want the other person to go based on what you've done, and then like it's a lot of times it's a rejection of whatever that message was, and then a departure in another direction. But it's and then it's always accepting that and moving forward again and continuing the dialogue. So that's what it's all
yeah,
about. I
yeah.
mean, your art doesn't have to be such a private thing. It can be something that you can do to engage with others and allow others to engage with you. So
But we know also the reasons of why it's so difficult to feel this way and to operate this way.
so personal.
It's it is difficult. It's difficult because you have to deal with your own identity through the that which you create or want to create, have created, and it's just and you feel differently every day. So every day you tackle the same issues with different feelings,
Mhm.
and it doesn't end.
Yeah.
So so people need to go through a lot in order to achieve just basic zone of comfort where they feel halfway normal,
Yeah.
like a place of refuge.
Just put
Um,
it out there. Keep putting it out there
yeah,
till it
yeah,
feels normal.
yeah. Rock the boat so it won't be such a big factor next time when you will not find yourself complaining about the rough seas
Yeah.
because you didn't notice it even. It was a fairly good ride and you almost drowned.
Hmm. I'm just saying, I wasn't nervous at all when I got up this morning to come talk to everybody here. I think, was it 3 years ago? I did my first show with you.
what?
Shit,
What? Give me
yeah.
an
I was
example.
like,
How was it? What did you
I
do?
gotta go talk. I gotta
Give me.
give my opinions in front of a camera. Oh, shoot, He's like, oh, we're having a chat with some coffee.
Oh, yeah, rightfully so, and also discussing the issues. We come from the same background. I mean, that necessity and reality of we paint with
Yeah.
canvases, brushes, paint constantly all the time. It doesn't stop. So there is it's
We
a,
learn from stuff. Stuff gets
yeah,
easier.
and also
That's
you
great.
kind of it's an indirect reassuring feeling.
Mhm.
when when you communicate with someone who really does the same thing you do in the same level of intensity.
Yeah,
So
and when you notice that change too, that like this is like I've gotten better, or this has gotten easier to talk about these things, or like any of that stuff. Like
yeah,
it's good when you see that progress. It tells you there'll be more progress to come.
absolutely, by all time. So yeah, I'm hoping like that we can continue with our wonderful artistic interaction, which is not so common and usual between artists. Just imagine how difficult it will be for artists to do what you're doing, and we take for granted. It was like we unheard of. Wait a second, you said what?
Mm.
You want to give me a canvas and then I do something and I give it back to you, and then you can do whatever you want without consulting me.
Yeah. We haven't. Well, art has no rules. You have as many
No,
rules as you decide to follow. So
can we do a FaceTime while doing it, please?
we gotta have like joint studio time at some point. Like
Yeah.
we need to be in front of the canvas together at some point. Just
Yeah, that's the toughest part. No, don't you? I think I will find it that's tough
yeah.
too.
Well, then you're gonna be like, get out of my way.
Yeah, like yeah. That will be interesting to go through something like that.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
because when I work on my pieces and all this, I don't think about hours or I don't think about doing anything other than what I'm doing.
No.
I'm fully, absolutely narcissistic in those moments, purely, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that nothing in the world exists but me. And only because I can feel this way without hurting anyone's feelings.
You're
unless
the only one there. It's all good.
unless I heard the feelings of the voices that I hear there. Voices have feelings.
They do. They do.
So do you hear voices in there when you paint? Like, do you get like shadows coming? Suddenly, someone just like moved somewhere and something. You don't?
Yeah. I plead the fifth.
Okay, good. Can you give me 5 reasons why you plead the fifth? No.
So I'll name 5 names. No. Those are the voices.
Uh, uh, the next show that I'm going to curate, hopefully for Michael McDowell, I have already a date and I'm finalizing it. Um,
This is exciting news. Where are we at? Where are we going?
like no one,
Like no one? Okay. It's a strong title
isn't it?
for a strong artist. I like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I like.
He doesn't know it yet. This is actually I'm revealing live.
Oh, I didn't know it yet either. I'm hearing it for the first time too. I like what I'm hearing
And the date is we have enough time in almost a year, but the date is solid.
Mm.
So we'll see. And and I guess he just celebrated 82. Can you believe it?
Amazing.
That's intense to say the least.
Happy birthday, Michael
Yeah, I
McDonald.
know. Amazing. So, so yeah. So okay. So, we got maybe 5 minutes. How about just the upcoming shows that you're going to have,
Absolutely.
and talk about our show that's going to group show that we're part of, which I'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
The information. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, so coming up first this Saturday, October 12th, I have Mind's Eye, which is a surrealist exhibition of six artists: Marilyn Church, Edward Joseph, Alicia Suarez, Michael Schwartz, and oh shoot, Peter. No, there we go. That's going to be a great exhibition opening again Saturday, October 12th from 4 to 7 p.m. After that, for the entire month of November, Haim and I are co curating a show called Guided by Time. This show is going to feature myself, Haim, some of our collaborations, Anne Raymond, Anai DeCanio, Amani Bilal, Steve Ram, Fan Yulin, and Chris Kelly. This is going to be a great show. It's all about artists who are guided by their process and their experience and their engagement over time. And where does that take us next? It's going to be loud and colorful and large scale and full of life. And I
Yeah,
cannot wait for that one. So that's November. December, we're going to have the Lucore Art Holiday Show. There's going to be more info coming about that soon. And that's the upcoming shows.
that's perfect. That sounds very appealing. I'm excited, especially with our show that's going to be with the company of so many good artists. It's like wow,
Yeah, that's
wow.
November will be a good month at the Lucore Art.
I know, and I'm kind of, and it's like it's so exciting to me that I'm actually feeling feelings that I didn't feel for 20 years, Leon, about getting ready for something. So,
Yeah, this is
you
the
know,
one.
it's good to feel this way. Kind of gives you um, that the necessary amount of humility that makes you stronger. I think every time we feel uh, humiliated by humility, and humility, therefore humiliation. What is necessary sweet humiliation? Okay, okay. I think I'm gonna retrieve to my little cave
Back
there.
to the studio. Back to the
Yes,
studio.
yeah. Just like I remember, that Sylvia Tenenbaum was my landlady. She was a very well known author and wonderful individual. So she used to when I rented my studio from her right next to Ashwa Hall for 16 years. And remember, we used to talk when I come to the driveway, and if she happens to be there, we stand and we're talking all this. And always she used to cut me off suddenly and say, "Go to paint, go to paint. It's more important than finishing the conversation." It was, but she really meant it. It wasn't like she really meant it,
Yeah.
and she always wanted to make sure that I'm painting. Are you painting? How's it going? Very important. Go paint, 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 paint. Like this. And you look at this woman, and she's a serious woman, and she's just like so convincing in the way she communicates with you.
Mm.
So you have that in your life. You don't need much more, man. It's just like people are concerned about you having the time and the space to create because
Absolutely.
they believe it's important, not in general, yes, in general, but they believe it's important because they believe in you.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
I that is it, because it's easy to look at this like a dream, like, oh, I'm gonna spend all my time painting, like, oh yeah, sure, kid, like, but to have people who are like, no, actually you should be spending all your time painting, like that's powerful. That's like, okay, maybe I am and am not in the same token as crazy as I thought I was.
There you
So
go. There you go. Yeah.
it's good.
So, okay. So I guess we're kind of concluding. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning. Wednesday morning, October 9th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. My guest, Chris Lucore from the Lucore Gallery in Montauk. And to be expected much coming from this gallery in the time to come. And also wanted to mention that Micah Martyr, I happen to be curating a show with the help also, of course, of Chris Lucore and producing the entire event. It's called Grasp Root, It's going to take place at Ashwa Hall the weekend of October 18th. Um, and we have the opening reception. I guess it's October 19th. No, I can't. When is Saturday? Yeah, October 19th, 4 to 8, Grassroot out of Ashwa Hall. And then the show will travel directly to LTV through the November 17th. So October 21st, Micah Martis show will come to LTV and we'll hang it until November 17th. And then I have a new group art show coming in with some really exciting uh, um, artists. And as we speak, until in another 10 days of display of the group art show that we have here, don't miss it. It's really exciting. It's wonderful. And thank you for being who you are. We know that you're contributing a lot and working hard, and it doesn't go unnoticed. God bless, and again, thank you to my guest, Chris Lucore, being here with us this morning. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.